my name is JD and welcome to a Halloween edition of An Idiot Flashback. Today is the story about the time I tried to make a horror movie. So, it was Halloween night. It was about 10 o'clock at night. Me and a couple of friends decided, alright, let's try and make a horror movie. We were a little drunk, because that's how we filmed a lot of our sketches. Our stunts were done sober, but our sketches were always done while intoxicated. So we had the thought of having a horror movie. We called it Emo. That's it. Just Emo. The basic plot is that Emo has a girlfriend who is pregnant and he finds out that she is cheating on him lots of dudes. So he goes on a killing rampage to get revenge and to kill her and the baby. So they come home only to discover that the emo boyfriend is not happy to see her with another guy. Finding out that she is cheating on him, he then decides that he wants to get vengeance, and vengeance fast. Drunk guy in the kitchen, kinky sex fiction, the new boyfriend, the damsel in distress, and the emo, and an unborn child if you count. Okay, she just finishes having sex with this guy who is in a kinky space costume. The reason why is because he didn't want to dirty his clothes when he got murdered. We had no blood for the murder, so all we had was pasta sauce. So the next night on Halloween night, he decides to break into the house after she leaves and kill the person that she is sleeping with, who happens to be the man in the kinky suit. So then this murder happens that is done in the most dodgiest way you could fucking think of. The three of them get home, the brother, the damsel in distress, and the new boyfriend, who the brother is that drunk that he needs to be carried to the door.
Hold him up, man. I ain't fucking have you up.
Now we are greeted with the cheesy, he shuts the door and he's actually already in the house now to lock them in. The emo then decides to kill the brother just because he does. We have no idea why, because it's the weirdest reason to snap, because especially when you count as an emo, so they would usually go into crying. This one goes into a psychopathic rampage murder spree. One of the weirder murders in the movie, he just chooses to suffocate him, which he seems to move around like a weird dead fish, because he's supposed to be so drunk that he can't actually move. So he suffocates the brother. Funny part here, he takes down the new boyfriend so fucking hard that we had to cut because his head hit the fucking deck.
Just look at how hard he slams him on the ground.
Next to go is John, the drunk guy in the kitchen, played by me.
Oh my god, it's not you two joking. What's wrong? Is there something in the house? Someone.
Now the thing is here, I was actually getting choked for real. And I actually found it hard to breathe, and I died quicker than what I was supposed to because of the fact that I wanted him to just fucking let go. Now the emo is finally in the room with his ex-girlfriend, and this is the big finale of the movie. So after throwing her around the wall a few times, he then decides, alright, it's time to kill her. All of a sudden, the big hero pops through the door. One thing I never understood is why did he decide to be the only one to have an American accent? Because it just sounds really awkward and out of place now, because he sounds like the only one that's actually acting. And everyone sounds pretty dodgy, but he just sounds like he's acting. So they have a sketchy fight scene. Then he kills her with a jumper, which you could breathe in. How do you suffocate someone by putting a jumper over their face? You could still technically breathe a little bit.
This would have to be one of the most dodgiest fight scenes I've ever filmed, and I've only filmed like 2 or 3, but this one definitely takes the cake as being the stupidest one. First he takes him to the ground in a really weird way, we don't even know why he falls down, and then he begins to suffocate him by just choking him. So it's not even suffocation, it's just choking. And then he does the worst neck break in the world.
So then the emo gets choked to death. And the final shot is them both holding hands while they are dead.
And then in a final attempt to scare them, the killer's hand moves of the final shot of the film. And this concludes the movie.
Sequel, anybody? Fuck no. The funniest part about this is that we shot that thing from about 10:30 to maybe 5:30, 6:30 in the morning. It took us a long time. We were writing the script like as we went. There was no actual written script. We were just making up our lines and then putting them in. We spent, about a good 8 hours making that movie, expecting an hour-and-a-half movie. And I came back home to edit it onto the VHS tape, finding out that it only went for a measly little 15 minutes and 44 seconds. So that is the Halloween special. I hope you liked it. Comment below, let me know what you think. Subscribe. Maybe you want to see more videos like this. Well, I'm sorry, but you're only going to get it on Halloween and maybe a Friday the 13th. I don't know. So, until then, I am JD. JD out.
Happy, happy Halloween, Halloween, Halloween. Happy, happy Halloween, Silver.
So over 10 years later, we decided to make a sequel. Alright, so I had been wanting to do a sequel to Emo for a long time, and for some reason in 2018 it just seemed like the right time to do it. We had just the right amount of people in the area, and we were just like, let's have a few drinks and let's try to recreate what we did in the first one. Action! We have Brian, played by Thomas, Sam, played by Smurtle, Nathan, played by Butters, First Victim, played by my wife. I was reprising my role as John, and an Idiot's original, Eliza, as the new emo. So just like the first movie, we were just making up the story as we went along. We needed some kind of thing to make it a little bit different from the original. We were like, alright, let's just make the killer a female. Similar to the first movie, We know who the killer is straight away. There's no mystery about it. So it opens with these two people talking about something that happened over 10 years ago, or on the 10-year anniversary, because it's set a year earlier. So on the 10-year anniversary, they're having a discussion about that emo that went crazy and killed a bunch of people in a house.
Hey, do you remember the story about that guy? It was about 10 years ago, I think.
So when she says the line, that emo fuck, that triggers something in Jamie, played by Eliza. And she goes ballistic and kills the first victim. Now, there was one deleted scene that we didn't end up fitting into it, which was when she got hit with the stick, she was supposed to shit herself. And I'm going to show you that for the first time ever right now. So she just starts wailing on it, but the funny thing about it is you can tell that she's not even hitting anything. She's just like going like this towards the camera. We'll try to make it seem like she was actually like beating someone up. Like, I was picturing she was going to be swinging like this, not like this. So then opening credits, and by the way, no, we do not own the rights to any of those songs. We're just using them because we have no intention of making money for this movie. So then it cuts to John, who is nameless at this point in the film, because we want it to be a twist that I'm not playing a different character, I'm actually playing the same character, despite you see me get killed. But I figured since I only get choked, I could have survived that. And you find out that he's got this girlfriend that he keeps talking about how much he loves her, and they just met. Now you'll notice that they're smoking a bong in it. That is not actually a bong, it is a cork from a wine bottle and a drinking bottle. And we have Thomas on the side making the sound effects for the bong. So then Butters does this song, alright? And the funniest part about it is we wrote it on the spot, and his delivery with it was actually really funny.
Why'd you leave me for salmon, Brian? Something in my bed for hours of work.
Then we came up with this line of you know, him apologising that he did what he did, but Sam didn't actually mean it.
Sorry about that, Nathan.
So now Nathan walks out of this frame and he's on his way outside because he's walking home. So when she hits him, like, she doesn't actually hit him, of course, but the sound effect we use, it's so over the top of the sound effect we hit with. And the fact that it's a two-punch sound effect, but when the first one hits him, it's funny because, you know, it's really that sound effect, but the second sound makes it sound like it's him hitting the floor, but it's just the sound effect of a second punch being thrown in the soundboard that we use. I can listen to that bit all day. Not even days, weeks. And just when I think it's getting old again, wait a month, it's brand fucking new again. So then all of a sudden, Sam is walking outside. And there's no reason why he's walking out. Like, there's no sign of everyone leaving, like, you know. My character was still in the shed apparently, and then so was the other two, but for some reason, they're just gone now. And Sam gets stabbed and he starts running. Now, this running scene is just, it's funnier when you were actually there watching them do that in the streets with all the neighbors quiet at like 1 o'clock in the goddamn morning. Play it again, play it again. Okay, now for some reason, we have no idea why we decided this, but Brian is digging a hole to plant a Christmas tree.
All the Christmas trees.
What the fuck is up with that Christmas tree? It makes no sense. Like, he's just digging in the dark. Like, I get it, he's supposed to be high, but it's so stupid. But it works. And what's with that fucking song?
All the ladies on the lead.
So, after like 16 takes of him going, Nathan, 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 we eventually got the shot that we wanted. It was perfect. But then we realized he's been calling him the wrong name the whole time. His name isn't Nathan in the movie. And luckily, we picked up on it while we were filming. So we had this idea, alright, maybe he's just a fucking asshole and he just doesn't remember anyone's name. So when Thomas goes up the wall, he shouts out, by the way, it's fucking Brian. And that was our way of correcting our mistake, because it would have been a massive mistake if we had just left it in the way it was. Okay, the shovel scene. Obviously, in this film, I've evolved a lot with my filming over the years. You know, all the kills in the first one was suffocate the mouth, choke, pasta sauce, and a knife going up and down, and suffocation with... They were very bland kills, and one thing I wanted to do differently was have these a little more elaborate.
Milk and sugar fuckface.
Milk and sugar fuckface? It makes no fucking sense! Maybe if we said milk and cookies, but why milk and sugar? So we came up with the idea of the shovel in the throat. Now, we know from a realistic point of view, if he had got stabbed in the neck with a shovel, gone by the width of the shovel, it would have just taken his head off. It looks so funny seeing this shovel just sticking out of his neck the way it was. And that stupid random shot of just the sauce dripping down, like, that was literally me with tomato sauce just dripping in front of the camera. Okay, so now we go to a little bit earlier in the film where it's set, and it's me there talking, and you find out that my girlfriend I've been talking about is Jamie. And this is also where we reveal that I'm John. I'm telling the story of what happened in the first film, just to tie it all together and make it like, you know, on the 10-year anniversary he came back. But he didn't. So now we go back to present time, and I go out to take a piss, and I trip over Sam. One thing doesn't make sense here. How did I not see him walking forwards, and I tripped over him walking backwards? And the funniest part about it is that the camera pans around and you can see the shovel's just sitting next to him in the dirt. It's not in his neck at all. That's my fault, because I thought, oh, it'll be better if you see my face here. But then when it zoomed down, I didn't think about the fact of the shovel should be on the other side then. Okay, so I go back in and I don't know that she's the killer. And this is where you find out that she was actually dating Jake from the first movie, played by Dion. So the plot there was that Jamie and Jake were deeply in love, they had a fight, he slept with someone else, got her pregnant, and left Jamie. And Jamie has been thinking about it for a long time, and when you think about it more, it actually kind of makes sense. It doesn't go too far away from the plot of the original. Like, it's a stupid plot to begin with, but it makes more sense why Jake is more pissed about his pregnant girlfriend cheating on him in the first film, because he left the love of his life to start a family with this person that he accidentally knocked up. He was ready to take care of his shit, and then because of what she did, it caused this big thing of him killing everyone and getting killed himself. And Jamie blames everyone in that house for what happened to Jake. And because I was one of the ones that survived, she's tracked him down. So I find out, I'm all shocked, and as I go to give her a hug to calm her down, because I'm still having trouble, I'm trying to stop her from killing people. I don't know how twisted she really is. So I get stabbed. And that is the end of John. So we think. Because I could still survive that too, you don't know. It's horror movies. So Nathan comes in and he's ready to be the big hero and take down the emo bitch. And he comes in, he's got fire in his eyes. This is gonna be a showdown. You watch. That was anticlimactic. But fucking good punchline. And then the post-credit scene is Nikolai Kozlov coming back into his house and realizing that everyone had just been slaughtered in his house. And he saw the blood and the shit, which doesn't make sense because we cut it out of the first one. But it was by accident. Now, that's the only part I would probably change out of it. I would probably take that Nikolai Kozlov bit out, but it was a funny little end punchline just to show that we made this film to have fun, and because Nikolai is a big character on the Nidiots channel, I was like, he has to be in it in some degree. What the fuck happened to my house? And yes, I intentionally ended both movies with the same song. So that was my immediate flashback on Emo 2. It's been about 10 months since we filmed it. I hope you enjoyed this little mini story about it. And I'll let you know right now, Emo 3 is on the way. I'm JD. JD out.
Why the fuck do we do? No one's gonna watch this fucking shit anyway. That's the time.
Alright, so it's good to have you here, Dion. Alright, so we're about to create the first set for Emo 3. It's going to be the spot where we're going to be shooting the end fight between me and the Emo. Okay, so I've just moved a bunch of fridges out of the shed, and this is us trying to create our wall to give the illusion of us actually being indoors, and we're actually outdoors for this scene. So yeah. So filming there. Alright, we'll just keep it rolling. Okay, it is now raining on my movie set. I'm still trying to set the fridges up to give the illusion of, you know, being a room indoors, you know, technically outdoors in a car park area. But you check this out. Rain on all my props. I gotta say, this is hands down the most difficult emo movie I've organised. Because with the last two, you know, it was shot on the spot. First movie was shot completely indoors, except for one outdoor scene. Didn't have to worry about shitty weather. Then on Emo 2, you know, we shot most of it outside, but it was good weather because it was January. And yeah, now we got rain. And the idea is that the whole Emo 3 is going to be set during the day. And the way I'm organising it is whatever sort of weather we get on the first day of shooting is the weather we've got to wait for every time we shoot. So if it's rain, then we've got to hope that it rains more often, or else it will, you know, fuck with the continuity, because the whole Emo movie is supposed to be set in one day. I could make it set in two, but I want it to be all set during one day. Basically from 6 AM all the way to midnight is the time that the, basically the whole movie takes place over a 24-hour period. But it doesn't have to the way I've written it. It can be done over the next few days. Ah, shit. No, wind it up, man. See, I'll do it, but I haven't got your hands. I need your big gorilla hands.
Got a great director named JD. Got some really good workers to work with. My character plays a bit more of a fleshed out kind of role and got more of a depth of character perception kind of thing.
Yeah, is this a PG rated interview? No. No, it was high as fuck. Yeah, there were a lot of scenes I remember had to get cut because there were bongs walking through the background and shit like that. What was the question?
I always knew we were going to film Emo 3. Ever since we did the second one, I knew we were definitely going to do a third. Honestly though, when we did the second one, honestly, when we did the first one, I didn't even think we were going to make a second. 10 years later, made a second. And now with the third one, it's the first time I've actually tried writing a script for a movie, and it's probably gonna come out pretty dodgy.
We never give our characters last names.
Alright, fair
Like
enough.
Jake is Emo Jake, so what is his last name, Jake?
Or is it last name Emo?
10-year anniversary. I was actually, I think I told you this, I was scrolling through your videos on YouTube trying to find the original Emo, and we hadn't spoken in fucking years. And then as I was scrolling through looking for that, you messaged me saying it's been the 10-year anniversary, and you sent that recap video of it. And so I was like, oh, holy shit. And that was just really weird. And then yeah, I think you hit me up and asked if I wanted to be in the next one, and I thought, oh yeah, why not?
I don't have high expectations for the movie. My only real goals are, as long as it's better than the last two, I did my job. And I want it to be longer. I want every film to be longer than the previous one. Who knows, maybe 10 years down the line I might make a full-length one. Until then, gone by the way I wrote the script, I'm clocking this one in about 20 minutes. Hopefully.
I'm Tom Mack, and I play as Brian. In Emo 2, I was the character that ran away.
Better known as fucking Brian.
Yeah, better known as fucking Brian.
I actually couldn't believe that Dion wanted to come back as the Emo. When we made the second one, we didn't tell anyone from the previous film we were going to make a new one, we just kind of made it. And I got a message from him asking if I ever make a third one to sign him up for it. So, to be honest with you, he's probably the main reason why we made it third, because I saw no reason to continue it. But once he said he wanted to come back, I was like, you know what, alright, let's do a third one and let's do it quick. So, it's been a year since we filmed the last one, and yeah, that's basically the reason.
I am MC Butters, aka Lockie B, aka Magic Cock. I play Nathan in Emo 2 and coming back for Emo 3.
Do you realise that MC is Magic Cock?
Oh.
Magic Cock Butters, MC Butters.
I thought you were meaning MC like
Master of Ceremony? No! That's why I thought it was so perfect.
Honestly, if Dion never wanted to do another Emo film, we would have never had a third one. He's the only reason why this trilogy is actually happening. If I had thought to contact you for the second one, would you have done it?
Probably.
There's a Magic Cock in the middle of nowhere.
Like, it's like, who names themselves MC Butters? Not Master Ceremony, Magic Cock Butters!
Am I still going or?
Yeah,
Yeah, no.
it's behind the scenes, so.
I'm playing Nathan again. I feel like my character, he's got a bit more depth in him because he's emotionally scarred from the events of the last year.
I really saw no reason to do a third film. We kind of wrapped it up in a little bow on the second one.
I was a bit nervous, honestly, because I thought it's been so long since I've been in front of the camera, but once we sort of did the first scene, it was like, oh, this is pretty laid back, this will be fun. And it was a lot of fun.
We somehow found a way to connect 1 and 2, and we need to find a way to connect 3 with 1 and 2. For more reasons than one, because with the character of Jake, we didn't want to just bring him back for the sake of bringing him back. We wanted a reason for him to come back. And it's not the best reason, it's actually a very immature reason when you think about it, but it makes sense.
And he's feeling very angry at his friends, he's feeling betrayed. He feels like he deserves a bit more credit for the part he played in trying to help his friends.
I want it to be a little more serious than the last two, but I still wanted to have a lot of humour.
Grab an old mate by the neck brace and run him down the driveway.
Do I think it's going to be a great short film? No. Would I like it to be? Yes. But in the end, I just don't have that expectation in mind, and I think that makes it easier for me to film this because of the fact that there are no expectations.
I don't really have a favourite. Yeah, shit, fuck.
Me personally, watching you push the fridge over at this point.
Oh yeah. I'll probably drop the TV. Oh, throwing the TV at you, that was good fun.
One bit of bragging rights is Emo 2 is actually the Nidiots' most viewed video on the channel. Not necessarily the most viewed video on the channel, but since I converted it into Nidiots, that is actually the most watched video we've got. My expectations are just for Emo 3 to get more views than Emo 2 did. As long as that happens, I'm happy. We're bringing a lot more people in now. We actually got a shooting schedule roughly worked out.
Emo 3, 2019.
Trilogies, anyone? Alright, so we just wrapped up a filming of Emo 2, and then I got a message from Dion, who played Emo Jake in the original film, asking why I didn't put him in it. And it was at that very moment where I decided, alright then, it's not just going to be 1 and 2, we're going to make a third. And honestly, it was only because of him why I even decided the third was going to happen. Like, don't get me wrong, maybe I probably would have eventually made a third one in the end, but this definitely fast-tracked it to coming out only a year later. So the original opening to Emo 3 was going to be Emo J talking to Emo Jamie, so Jamie Lloyd from Emo 2, and he was going to ask her why she did what she did, and she was going to explain that it was all for him. And in fear of her telling the cops what she did it for, because she was telling everyone, he persuades her to slit her own wrists and kill herself. And that was going to be the opening of Emo 3, and that was going to surface, alright, now Jake is back. And that didn't end up materialising because Eliza, who played Jamie in the second movie, moved away and couldn't meet the schedule requirements that we had for the film, so we had to scratch that whole thing out. Originally, Jamie was going to be a really big part in the third movie. And this is actually a funny one. It was an ongoing joke that I'd written in the script, where Jake, to every victim, would explain why he's doing it, and like what his motives were. And the idea was that by the time the movie gets to the end, he finally goes to give his motivation to John, me, and he shuts it down. But that ends up becoming a joke that becomes only a punchline without the joke build, because we filmed the scene between me and Jake fighting, mine and Dion's fight scene, the one that was shot outdoors in the daytime, that was shot before we knew Eliza wasn't coming back. And that's why he goes to give the thing and I do the whole shut the fuck up with you 10 years ago.
It all started 10 years.
Oh, shut the fuck up with you 10 years ago.
So that didn't happen. But alright, now we've got to get to the good stuff. So we start filming and we know Eliza's not going to be in it now, and the script that I had written, which might add was very detailed and was originally going to be set in multiple towns, that all got scrapped, and we're like, alright, well let's just... In the end, we made it up as we went along. We had the only difference between this Emo and Emo 1 and 2 is we had a basic idea of what our story needed, but we improvised almost everything. So let's go to scene 1. It starts off with me and MC Butters, Thomas, all in a room, drinking, talking, just, you know, airing our grievances, and it shows you that we're all very different people by the time it happens there. Nathan's the only one that actually cares about the fact that, you know, people have died, and it was 1 year anniversary. But we improvised that scene. I made it clear to Butters that in this scene, he's not to, when I escalate, he's not to escalate above, he's supposed to escalate with, but just slightly under. So like if you watch it, when I go to throw the can, and when I throw the can, he goes to throw it too, but he doesn't throw it because he like remembered halfway through, wait, it would be weird if he threw a can too, because he's not supposed to be as angry. But so that scene, in my opinion, I wish I cut that scene down a bit because it was a little bit long, and you know, things happen, and that's how that scene stayed. So next scene, alright, so Tom, alright, we got to talk about Tom. Okay, so in the second movie, his first appearance in Emo 2, we see him scale up a wall, and we're like, alright, we want to do more with that. So the idea is when he walks outside and says, I gotta let this shit out, the idea was we were going to have a full, like, 30-second montage of him just doing parkour moves over things, like, for no reason. Like, he was gonna parkour over some cars, you know, scale up a wall, jump off it, shit like that, like, you know,
do a flip over a fence, like, you know, a waist-high fence. But what happened was he had injured his wrist, so we couldn't film any of that scene. So it makes no sense now why he's like, oh, he's warming up like he's about to go to parkour, and then all of a sudden the killer's just there. And that's why that scene went down like that. Now we knew that we weren't going to have Dion for a lot of the shoot because he lived in a different town to us, so he could only film 2 scenes, and we had to use those scenes wisely. Now the idea was he was going to be filming a main scene with Eliza, and then he was going to be filming his end scene. But in this case, so as I move forward, we had to have Butters basically play Emo. He had to play Emo Jake in the scene when Thomas gets killed. And that's the main reason why he never takes his mask off, is because it's actually Butters. In fact, if you freeze frame on a certain point, you can actually see Butters' king tattoo on his wrist. So it makes it very obvious that it's him. And he just moves differently to the way that Emo Jake does. But then here the scene just kind of jumped to all of a sudden. So the first thing that we actually shot for the film was mine and Dion's fight scene in the daytime, where, you know, he uses the hammer. We have all the big stage props, and that was supposed to be a big finale, but we filmed it, and this footage doesn't exist anymore. But that was originally the ending of the movie, and the ending was going to see me and Dion with the gun. When he holds it up at us just after the fridge, it cuts to black there. But originally, Dion escorts me back to where the fight scene started, and then I just had the idea, alright, I'm just going to rush the gun. So I rush the gun, turn it around, and we end up shooting each other. I shoot myself in the neck so I can get him in the heart. But the funny part is Dion didn't really get where I was shooting him. So he started holding his stomach when he starts putting the blood out, but that scene doesn't exist anymore, sadly. Unless I can find it somewhere, hopefully I can. But so that was originally where it ended, and I was like, well, Emo 3 is 14 minutes long. And I was like, and really anticlimactic, because like Butters' death, in my opinion, was the best scene in the movie. Because we have, you know, I've just finished rescuing him, only for me to pull him in front of me as a human shield so I don't get shot in the head. But it's actually kind of funny if you look carefully. When Butters gets captured, he's got a neck brace on and an arm brace. He's got all this stuff to make him look a cripple. The reason why is because when we were first shooting it, the canon was the original release of Emo 2. So at the end of the movie, he got his neck broken by Eliza. So we're going to have him completely crippled. So it's funny that he survived it. But that didn't happen. And so originally we had a scene where at the start when we were talking about, when we were all talking around the couch, just, you know, drinking, that was originally supposed to take place in an actual pub. But I can't remember the reasons, but for some reason we didn't end up shooting that. So anyway, I'm getting off course. So we get to Butters' scene, and now we know Butters is going to get shot in the head, and we're like, alright, but we want to execute it in the dodgiest way we can think of. You know, we were like, oh, mannequin heads, you know, like, oh, do we get like just a prosthetic head sort of thing made up? Do we grab like a mannequin doll's head and use that? And then I had the idea of like, no, how much fun it would be for it to be just a balloon with a face drawn on it, and we put his hat on top. So that's what we did. So that way when I pop the balloon with the pin, the hat falls down and it just looks stupid. And that's the reason why we executed that. So, alright. So I get back to the editing booth and I cut the whole film together, and then I realized, holy shit, it's only a 10-minute movie. So we got to shoot more scenes, because this is, and after watching it, I actually found it worse than Emo 2. Like, it was bad, like not good. I loved the fight scenes, but the story was very inconsistent. So I needed to glue some pieces together. So, enter Victor. Alright, so we have the idea of the reason why Emo's body shape keeps changing is because he's not the only one. So we have this person, Victor, played by myself, and it is the twin brother of John Mason. So it is Victor Mason. And the funny part is, my voice when I have the mask on is completely different to the voice that I use when I take it off. But, and using the Saw music was just like, we're making fun of Saw on all of its stupid reveals that make no sense. But that scene was completely improvised. and Victor, your brother.
We're just making this movie up as we go along.
I didn't have any script written up, and I had no idea what I was going to be doing. All I did was I had the beard, I reacted to nothing, and then I went into the bathroom, shaved it off, made just a mustache, because originally I was going to be clean shaven, but I thought, no, mustache would be funnier. Combed my hair back, and then I did the other half and just tried to fill in the gaps. And then I just tried to splice it together so it was very coherent, but at the same time incoherent with what was going on. That's why I don't talk much during that scene, because I'm just trying to react to what's going on. And I knew I was going to be killing Victor with, you know, a needle to the neck, and originally I was just going to go and then die, but I was like, nah, it wasn't enough, so I went back into the, because I was just about to shave the mustache off, and I was like, no, I got a better idea. So I went, and the way I did it was I sipped some beer, you know, kind of moved around my mouth so it frothed up, and that's how I made the foam when he just spurts out the foam from dying. But that's how that scene was shot, and that was the reason of that scene being shot, was to bridge that it wasn't the ending yet. So Dion had captured me, left me for Victor, and that was the idea, to keep it going forward for a final scene. Because I wanted to clock it in at around 30 minutes. And we shot a few other bits and pieces of scenes here and there, and then we shoot the scene where I have a fight scene with Dion in the dark. And in my opinion, it's my favourite thing I've ever filmed. But the idea there was, you know, we'd have 2 cameras set up, you know, we got Cockroach coming back to film, which he's never, sorry, coming back to film doesn't make sense, he's never filmed one of them, but he was, when I used to do my Idiot videos, he was very involved with the filming. He was almost my Joe Frans. So, we get there, and then we find out that the camera I was going to be borrowing was flat, and the charger was missing, and there was no SD card. I brought an SD card, but with no charger, we only have 1 camera to shoot that entire fight scene, so that made that fight scene take literally twice as long. We shot that fight scene from 9 o'clock at night till about 11:30. Like 2.5 hours, like the time we shot that like was literally twice as long as it took us to shoot the first fight scene. And there was less in it. But, so we're filming that fight scene, and then all of a sudden we have this idea of like, alright, well my folks are at Domino's that night, because we filmed that at my folks' place. And we're like, how funny would it be if like, right before he goes to kill me, the doorbell rings? Because like, that's never happened in movies. And like, the other thing that I get there is like, how did he hear the doorbell? Because it was inside. But anyway, so the doorbell rings and he answers it looking so shady. Like, the fact that that pizza dude didn't call the cops, like, it's the funniest shit ever. By that, might add, the pizza guy is played by Cockroach. And fucking like, how he just awkwardly hands the pizza, like he pays for the pizza, shuts the door, and then just drops it and leaves. Like that is probably, when it comes to like the flavor of emo, in the entire third movie, that is the most emo thing, like in the sense of like, that feels like it fits perfectly with emo too. The fact that the killer answers the door, pays for the pizza, picks it up, looks at it, drops it, walks off. But it was really hard to film that scene, man, because like, the funny part is, I wanted to make it look like some time had passed, and I wanted to look like shit. So I wanted to look like, you know, I'm really hiding out, like I'm not going out in public much. So what we did was, I got my father to cut my hair. So it didn't look professional. I wanted it to look like John had cut his own hair. So we got him to cut his hair, and it's this shitty bowl cut, but it's like really short hair, so like it looks ridiculous. But that's really funny. But so we filmed that fight scene. You know, I kill Jake, and you know, the movie wraps up. But like, I was thinking to myself, why am I just randomly walking outside now? Because that now makes no sense. It cuts from me to, oh, I've got to get out of here, fade to black, to me just walking outside. I was like, I need to film an extra scene. So we had gone from Horsham, that's where we shot the final scene, was in Horsham, and we came back to Nil, and I was like, oh shit, how are we going to do this? So I was like, well, I've never shot a scene in my lounge room before, so continuity-wise, it makes sense. So I'm actually in 2 different towns in that one house. So in the scene where you see me sipping on the beer, watching TV, that is actually me in my house in Nil. But then when I go outside, I'm actually in Horsham at my folks' house, which is where it was the perfect spot to film fight scenes. It looked like a hideout house. A little bit of trivia, I'm watching Haggard, which is the movie that inspired me to make films, to make short films. So just, that's a little nod to Joe Francis Bam Margera there. That's why I'm watching Haggard at that time of all the movies. And the scene that made me just like laugh hysterically playing the Field of Dicks. But now I was like, alright, well I've killed Jake, I need an ending. Because I don't just want to end with end credits after that, because originally that's what I was going to do. I was like, well what would be the logical thing to end the trilogy? But leave it opening in case I decide to make another one. And then I click all this shit that's happened to John from 2007, 2017, then 2018. Like, it only makes sense that I've just mentally snapped. So the idea was that I have now become the serial killer. So we had my wife play the lady that owned the house, which is the, in case you don't know, the one that gets killed in the second movie at the start, the blonde. Stacy was the name of the movie. And then the idea is I go into a house and I take her child. Now, we don't know who that child is. Like, it's just, alright, I'm just taking the child. So, that is how we ended Emo 3. Anyway, here's JD out.
Could you close the door, please? I'm very fucking taken.
Want me to help you open the fucking...
Don't close this door, I can't.
I can't seem to face up to the facts. I'm tense and nervous and I can't relax. I can't sleep cause my bed's on fire. Don't touch me.
That's the second time this week!
Psycho killer, qu'est-ce que c'est? Run, 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 run away.
What's the problem? It goes.